So welcome everybody to day 4 of the Teaching Online Expert series, which is this thrown together thing that we're all co-creating as we go. I'm really grateful for everybody's participation, and I wanted to start with some celebrations because I think it is just so inspiring to hear what everybody's up to. So I'm going to play this one first, and I hope, let me turn up the volume. I hope you can hear it. Check this out, so cool.
Hello, I just thought you should know I've just made over £400 and still counting for my online 2-hour mini retreat today. I know.
So good. So that's a good news story. I wanted to say a shout out to Petra. I think I mentioned Petra yesterday. Petra in Italy, we're sending her all of her love. Petra's doing great because she emailed me overnight to say she started her YouTube channel earlier in the week and she already has 200 subscribers. Yes, nice one, Petra. I also had a message from Sarah Bargigian, who was our guest on day 2, talking about YouTube channels. And remember, we were talking about how at this point she hadn't monetized her channel, and we were thinking about how she might. She sent me this message. I won't share all the details, but she said, while she was watching, I think, yesterday's class, she actually was contacted by a CEO from a substantial company in Singapore who has just hired her to teach virtual yoga classes for their employees in Singapore and in Australia, paid for by their wellness fund. She teaches 3 classes. She's getting paid per class package, which is 3 classes. They want to hire her for 3 months, and probably about 100 people in each class. I won't tell you exactly how much money they're talking, but suffice it to say that the money she's lost from having her studio closed down, she has made up with this. So while there was no immediate financial reward for all of her YouTube efforts, there you have it, Shazam. Abundance happened in a way that she could never have seen coming. So that's very cool. I want to do a shout out to my client, Jess, who messaged me to say that she had 60 people show up for her first ever virtual relaxation and meditation session online, which is also very, very cool. Anybody else who has celebrations, type them into the chat, because I think this is super important to remind everybody that as much as I love all of, I don't know Petra very well, but everybody else that I've mentioned, I've worked with for a while now, and they're all fabulous women, and they're all also normal and, just as tech savvy as you may be feeling about yourself. And so there's absolutely no reason why you can't have the same level of abundance and reach and support as they can. Before I introduce our fabulous guest for today, seriously, I've got the best guests. Before I introduce Susan properly, I want to just quickly ask a question, because I've been thinking over the past couple of days, well, what am I going to do when this is done? I've got time. What am I going to do next? What would be useful? And I am feeling fetishized. I'm feeling lit up and inspired about the Bhagavad Gita at the moment, because I think whenever in life you're like, holy crap, this is intense, that's when you need to haul out the Bhagavad Gita. So I was wondering if people would be interested in like a online class, like a chapter a day or something, some kind of like Gita study group in a modern context. If anybody would be interested in that, could you like send me something on Insta or let me know? I won't do it if no one's into it, but yeah, I've got about 4 commentaries that I'm kind of reading through all at once and mapping out a plan for something I've got to teach later in the year, COVID-19 pending. And I thought, well, maybe we should do this together. So let me know if you're interested in a guitar kind of home study virtual thing. I thought that would be nerdy and fun. Okay, so without further ado, let me introduce my fabulous guest for today, Susan Proper. Susan is a yoga teacher. She specializes in yin and in nidra. She's a wellness coach and vision sort of mapping coach for women who are particularly at transition points or feeling the drive to make transitions in their life. She's based in Florida, and she has been teaching virtual retreats for how long now, Susan? I've got to unmute you, sorry. Where have you gone in my thing? Susan, And if you can, there you are. I got it. How long have you been doing this for?
Just over a year, actually.
So good. And I've got to say, folks, like Susan does this every 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
Every 2 weeks.
Yes,
And I remember,
sorry.
No. I remember she told me once that she had over 80 people join her on one of her virtual retreats, which blows my mind. So,
Yeah.
Susan, you're like, if you're doing this every second week and you've been doing it for a year, fair to say, you're an expert in teaching online retreats.
Well, it's something I really enjoy. And, expert, I'm not quite so sure.
I'm giving it to you, thanks.
All right.
The bestower of titles here. You're an expert.
Okay. I'm one of these people that believes in keeping it simple. I don't have a lot of equipment. I don't have fancy microphone. I don't have fancy lighting. I concentrate more on the content than anything else.
Yes.
And that has always been my focus since I started this, truthfully. And it has evolved since I started, I must admit. When the first couple of times I did it, there were a lot of glitches between me and Facebook and my internet connection that did not help my central nervous system, I must say. But I got through that, and those are the kinds of videos that you will never see on, I've deleted those on Facebook and I've deleted those everywhere. They will never be seen by the light of day again. However, those were my learning points, and I learned what not to do and what people didn't respond to, and that's, that's how you begin, really. You begin with, crap, I made a mistake, or shit, I got to think about what happens if my internet goes out, or if I forget to turn my phone on do not disturb, or all of these things that could possibly go wrong, that heck, I'm only human and I make mistakes. But you learn, you live, you go on, and it gets better.
I love it. And I want to, I've got a bunch of questions that we're going to work through to sort of step us through the process, but it might be too soon in our chat, Susan, but I remember, I'll leave it up to you if you want to share the details. I remember you sharing with me this fantastic insight you'd had after doing, I think, your first one, which was essentially a costume malfunction.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So yeah, you live, you learn, right? I had a really bad bra on. And not only was it just not good for the particular shirt I was wearing, it did not accommodate my ampleness.
I love it. And here's the thing, I never noticed, but Susan's response in watching the replay was like, I never let me wear that bra again when I'm doing it.
Yeah, I threw it out, I threw it out. But it's those kinds of things that you don't really think about until you see a picture of yourself. It's like, oh my God, why didn't anybody ever tell me that I speak like that, or I look like that, or I should never wear that shirt again, or, I'm having a bad hair day or something like that. It takes you actually looking at yourself honestly on a recording or a photograph or something and saying, oh, and I know it's not all about me, and it's not all about how you project. It's about what you're doing and what you're teaching and how you're serving, of course. However, you don't want to, you're putting something out there on the internet, right? It's going to be there forever. And as we all know, Amy, you know as well, you get these weird people that are into your feet sometimes. So if I'm out there with a bra that doesn't accommodate,
doesn't serve,
yes, doesn't serve, then I'm not going to wear that bloody bra again. So
Oh,
you just have to be prepared, really
I
prepared.
love this story because, it's a metaphor for being objective about your own sort of personal appearance, how you come across and the work that you're doing, and making adjustments without beating yourself up. Like something that you've done that you look back on and go, wow, I don't like that. But rather than going into the funk of, I'm not supposed to do this, I'm not as good as everybody else, I don't have what it takes to be online. It's just, okay, note, I'm going to change this one thing and do it differently later. So, and if you want to, delete that one from the internet. But
it's not on the internet. It's not.
This is a play. Thanks, Susan, for being so fun about this, because I really want to bring this point home that this is not about perfection, and it's about being in service. And we all, God knows the stupid things I've done. I've told everybody about my first ever webinar having my microphone on mute for the first 12 minutes. Like, God, everybody's still stuck in there. I bless them. So yes, I love that story, Susan. And folks, play that forward into whatever area of yourself you might be feeling is somehow inadequate or not appropriate or whatever, and just learn, look back, learn on what you did and do it differently next time. So Susan, thanks. And I want us to start then, now that we've covered the bra story, fantastic, tick that off. Why did you start teaching your retreats online? Like, what was the motivation in the first place?
Well, I don't have a studio. I substitute teach at a few studios locally, but I'm pretty much independent. And I was looking for a way to attract an audience, to find more people for my own personal business. And I teach chair yoga also, and so I had a side gig at the time where I was teaching chair yoga with an insurance company, and that was sort of an ongoing bread and butter kind of a thing. But it's not really my first love, and it's not my focus for my business, but it was a steady stream of income. But I was looking for a steady stream of income for what my heart really wants to serve women with. My clients are women. And that is yin yoga, and that is yoga nidra, and mixing that all together with coaching and retreats. And for that, I needed to broaden my own personal audience, my own field of a client base.
Yep.
And I was not doing that working for other people.
Yep.
And so that's how this concept of doing online retreats sort of originated.
Love it. Okay, so talk to us then about your setup, just for as far as how you arrange yourself in your room, what technology you use, and tell us just about the physical kind of setup.
Sure. Well, again, it's very simple. It's very basic. I use my iPhone to do a live through my Facebook group. So you have to be a member of my Facebook group in order to catch it live.
Okay.
And the way to get into my Facebook group is to sign up, and that's, you sign up through a Facebook event. And when you do that, okay, let me go back. I create an event through Facebook.
Yep.
Okay. And then basically the ticket is a landing page where I collect data. I collect the person's name and their email address. And then they get invited to my Facebook group. They join my Facebook group. That is where the live takes place.
Cool. In
my studio office, which is about the size of a small bedroom, I have a small bureau where I set up a tripod like this, one of these little portable jobs with my phone on it. And that is what I use to record. I have lights around the room, and I write a script. Takes me a few hours of preparation each day that I'm doing a retreat. I have to do research about what my topic is. I have to, because I talk about crystals, I talk about essential oils, I talk about whatever it is the topic is as well. And, sometimes there's questions and a little bit of back and forth from the people that are participating. And that sometimes can take about 45 minutes before I'm through all that, right? And then we get into some pranayama. I don't know if I'm going ahead of you.
Great, perfect.
And then we'll move to our mat, which is in the back of my area here. And then we'll do maybe about 30 minutes of yoga, maybe some guided meditation, or a brief abbreviated yoga nidra. And that's about it. It's really not anything fancy. It's just, my little room.
Well, it sounds luscious, that's for sure. So people often ask me, what makes a virtual retreat different from just a yoga class? And what I'm hearing you say is that it's that you're blending different modalities together, and that you're talking about things or participating in things beyond what's technically yoga, as you may do in a retreat environment.
Exactly. So, you go to a yoga class and you start off with maybe a brief 1 or 2 minute meditation, maybe some breath work, and then you get into your class work, right? You're doing your vinyasas and whatever. And then you have your shavasana, and then that's it.
Yep.
Well, this is a mini retreat. This is probably something that if you really wanted to, if you were meeting physically, you could do for 3 or 4 hours.
Yes.
And you could add a few other things into it. You could have a lunch break. You could have a tea break. You could, you could make this a much more beautiful experience for your students. However, this is online, and you can't really reach out quite that same way. So I keep it to 90 minutes, and that seems to be just the right amount of time, I think, for the attention span and for what it is that I am giving everybody. But I do make it perfectly clear that this is not a yoga class. This is a retreat. So you're getting a lot more information, and sometimes rather than doing an actual yoga sequence, sometimes it's a yoga nidra. So it's very different than just a yoga class.
And can you just tell us again about, I'm thinking about the format for people who are looking to put together a plan for something like this. So you do most of the conversational, like the satsang, if you like, the dialogue portion happens at the beginning, and then the activity happens in the second half?
Yes. So in the beginning, I start, and I have a YouTube channel, by the way, if anybody wants to check it out, where I upload the retreats of like a week or so afterwards for anybody who missed it live. Plus, they're still in my Facebook group as well. But basically, I welcome everybody, and then I introduce what our topic is going to be for that particular session. And sometimes I'll spend like 2 or 3 or more sessions talking about chakras. Sometimes we'll talk about crystal grids. Sometimes we'll talk about, lately we've been talking a lot about fears and anxiety, worry, panic, and what to do to alleviate all that sort of thing. But I have spent over the year, I would say, mostly talking about how to step out of your shadow and find courage, because that's something that is important to me personally, and I feel that it's important to a lot of women who reach a certain point in their life where maybe they've lost a job, or they've gotten divorced, or they're an empty nester, or something has changed in their life where they're just sort of like have to step back and say, oh, something's happened and I'm not where I thought I would be in my life, or I should be in my life, or whatever the reason. And I try to use these retreats to focus on how to find the courage and take the next steps in your life to move out of whatever it is that's holding you back. And so that's been a focus for, I would say, probably, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months worth of my retreat. So I introduce the topic and give like a little brief, I don't want to call it a lecture, but I just talk about it, and ask people if anybody has anything they want to add, any questions, and, and a lot of times people are radio silent. They don't say a word.
That was Louise was asking about that. How do you manage group sharing? So Lou, remember that Susan does her retreats as a Facebook Live, so people can it's not a Zoom, so people would type their comments, so that helps alleviate the everybody talking at once thing. But so Susan, people that I imagine, because it's not on your page, people might feel a little bit more prepared to share into the group rather than on a public Facebook page. But you said just now that not everybody is interactive. No. I know when people are just getting started, especially with Facebook Lives, that they can get really nervous or take it sort of personally if they're not getting interaction. So would you talk a little bit about how you manage that sort of radio silence? How did it make you feel at the start, and how do you manage it now?
Yeah, well, at the start I was like, oh God, I thought, is anybody out there, right? You can see that there are people out there, but you don't really know that they're paying attention. You don't know if they're watching. They're just plugged in, but they're washing the dishes maybe, or, what are they doing? Are they really paying attention? And then sometimes you'll get a comment from somebody. It's like, too much talking, blah, blah, blah. I've had that before.
For a free thing. Don't you just love people that, girl,
yeah,
pay for this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, my retreats are free. Okay.
And Lorraine asked about that, and we'll loop back to your question, Lorraine. I got you.
Yes. My retreats are free. This is a gift to women, and that's why it's called the gift of stillness. I am, I'm always wondering, hello, is there anybody out there? But then sometimes what I do is I make little contests. So, I'll talk about like crystals, like every time I do a class, let's see if I can get this to come up. I have a crystal grid. I create a crystal grid, and a crystal grid is based on whatever my topic is, right? So this particular one was for helping release anxiety, worries, and fear. This has a lot of very strong crystals in it. Black tourmaline, smoky quartz, and citrine, all really good for releasing negative energy and fear. Anyway, so sometimes we'll talk about the crystals and people will ask, oh, how do you spell that? Or, same thing with essential oils. I'll talk about oils for those very same things as well. And towards the end of the session, I'll ask people, oh, okay, here we're going to have a little contest. Does anybody remember what crystal, blah, 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 blah. And, just to see if anybody's really listening to me. And, sometimes people do, and they respond. I'm like, wow, yay, you just won, something, an MP3, blah, whatever. And so, yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes I feel like, no, there's nobody listening. And sometimes they do. They just surprise me.
I love it. There's a couple of things here that I want to pull out. One is for anybody who feels like, oh, why would anybody watch my virtual retreat when there's so many already out there? Like if we just saw Susan in the way that she was talking about her crystal grids and what they do and how they work, Susan and I could teach the same topic virtual retreat at the same time, on the same day, with the same components, and yet it would be a wholly different retreat if you went to Susan's or if you went to mine, right?
Yes.
So I think we need to reiterate the point that no one else can do it like you can, no one else can do it like Susan can, no one else would do it like I would, And as a consequence, different people are interested in different things. Likely, people are polarized between whether they want me or whether they want Susan, and they pick accordingly. So don't feel like everything's already been done. What I love about what Susan does is she brings all of her passions to it, and that's what she shares. And when we do that, we create unique experiences that can't be, no one else can do that because there is only you. Rosie and Lorraine, who are asking about how do you monetize, we're going to loop back to that in a second. Susan, I'm curious to know about your class planning format. Like, how do you know how much time to spend on what? What are your resources for finding things to talk about? Do you have any favorite books or anything like that that you draw on?
Yeah, I have so many books. I have a lot of books. I'm a bookaholic. And what I can do is I can, if there's a way I can like send you a list of my books that I use for resources.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, I can email it out to everybody. That'd be great.
I can do that for you. So I get a lot of my information from books. And then of course there's always the internet. If I'm stuck on something, I'll be like, where, I need a little bit more information about some topic that I have. I will look it up on the internet. But basically what I do is I write myself a script and I tape. I'm so low tech.
Love it.
I handwrite I'm just gonna.
This is awesome. Thank you so much. See, aren't these guests amazing?
I handwrite my script on these 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper, and I tape them on my little bureau over here, so that when I'm looking at my camera, all I have to do is look down and say blah 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 blah. Yeah, right. And I don't have to have this whole thing memorized, and I can just look down and say, oh yeah, okay, and here's, these are the essential oils that you use, and and then I hold up my little iPad, and these I know by heart anyway, and then I can talk about black tourmaline, and I can talk about citrine, and so I have tools, I have little cheat sheets, I have them all everywhere. I even have things, I'm sitting in my chair, I have things taped to the back of my chair so that when I'm on my mat and I'm like, okay, I'm doing the bumblebee breath and this is how we do it. And yeah, I have all my cheat sheets everywhere so that I don't forget a thing. I remember exactly step by step what I want to do and what I want to share and how I want to, teach it. And I keep my iPad with me throughout my entire class for all my sequences, because yin, you hold your poses long, right? You hold your poses for I typically hold them for 3 minutes because I don't want people to get bored, basically. Holding them too long. So I will hold them for about 3 minutes, and I time that on my iPad. I keep track of the time of the class on my iPad. And I just know, okay, by this time I have to be here. By this time I got to be heading toward Shavasana or into my guided meditation. So it's all very organized. And once you do it, I don't know, maybe a half a dozen times, you fall into a flow, you fall into a pattern, and it just comes naturally, more or less.
I love it. I can't even tell you how many people are listening or watching this going, oh, okay, I can write it down and I can stick it behind my camera. I can do that. Yeah,
absolutely. You don't have to have all this stuff memorized. No.
Jody says it takes the stress out of trying to remember everything. Yep. Katie says, so helpful, Susan. Karen says, clever. I love it. Yes.
Oh, somebody wants to see I have to move my laptop. So,
yes. Yeah.
See, there's my mat, and there's my that's my little altar back there where I use sage and incense. But so, yeah, that's just basically where I teach from, and there's all my bolsters and all my stuff. But this is like a small bedroom that I've turned into my yoga studio. That's all. That's it.
I love it. So was it backtracking something else from before? Oh, one other point I wanted to just dig into a little bit, because you made it so beautifully and I want to make sure people get it, is what I heard you say earlier was that you have developed some skills to encourage people to be more interactive. So I know when I used to do virtual retreats, and even when I'm doing trainings like this, the more engaged people are, the more beneficial the teaching, but also the greater the rapport you're building, the more likely people are to maybe sign up for something else down the line. And I love the idea of the competition. But any other tips, Susan, because I think one thing that we, as newbies, what we might not realize is that a big part of what you have to do online is intentionally ask for interaction, because you can't gauge people's body language, or like you said with the yin, like if you were in a class, people wouldn't get out of it after 3 minutes because everyone else would be there and they would be busted. But you have to manage it slightly differently. Any other tips for helping to get your viewers engaged, keep people attentive and interacting?
Well, all right. Once I get into the yin part, I'm not so much worried about engagement, of course. But prior to that, it's basically asking questions. So when I'm doing my little talk about whatever my topic is, whether it's about the chakras or finding courage or whatever, if I'm bringing up like an example of something that has happened in my life, I will specifically, ask whoever is there if they can give me any examples that maybe have happened to them. You have to just ask. You have to ask people, has anybody else experienced this? What about you? Do you think that that I was wrong or that I was right? Ask them for their opinion about what you're sharing with them. I talk about like a crystal grid, and then you can even ask, does anybody else do grids? You can ask, I talk a lot about essential oils, and I always provide like do-it-yourself oil blends or yoga mat cleaners or something like that. And I also can ask, does anybody else have a really good recipe that they want to share?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Something as simple as that.
Right.
You never know.
Ask lots of questions. And for people who are new to doing these sorts of things, do remember that there is a lag on a Facebook Live, a 30-second lag. So if you throw out a question, don't freak out if you have crickets. It's actually people are typing and then it takes 30 seconds to get to you. So it doesn't mean they're not listening and they're not responding. There's just a little bit of time delay. This is really helpful. Folks, start typing in your questions for Susan. I've got a few more, but let's get your questions in there as well. Okay, I've asked about how to make it interactive. We are going to talk about how to monetize it. How do people find your virtual retreat, Susan? How do you get people to join? What's your marketing technique?
Well, I promote it on my Instagram profile.
Can you tell us, Susan has a fantastic Instagram, folks. Follow her for inspiration. What's your Insta, Susan?
It's just Susan Proper Yoga.
I'll type it in. Okay, what else?
And I also, of course, promote it when I create my event. The ticket is a link to a landing page, which you then sign up for, and then you become a member of my Facebook group.
Mm-hmm. And that's all automated, correct? Like they get
it's all automated.
Details. Yep.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then I promote it in my newsletter. I do a weekly newsletter. I promote it. I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm pretty much everywhere, and I'm promoting it all the time.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And so, how many people these days are coming along? Like I remember you had a boom one once, but what's your average kind of attendance rate?
Well, it's interesting because that boom one was before I created my group.
Yes.
All right. So that was just on my Facebook page. And that my Facebook page is just Susan Proper Yoga. And then I created my group to make it so that I could collect data, right? Because
Yep.
I'm trying to grow my personal audience, and grow my own business that way. So I created a private group, and that group is Women Inspired Beyond Asanas. And now that I have that group, it's a small group, I have to admit, it's just about 170 women, but the viewers on that varies from week to week. When I do it, it is anywhere from 30 to 40 women.
Which, can I just say, like, folks, when I first started out, before I started doing this, I had a business that in a way is similar to Susan's, in that I was doing well-being coaching for women. And I also had a retreat component, and every bloody 2 weeks I would do one of these virtual things. And God, I would have like 8 people on that thing. And I'd be like, yes, 8, because sometimes it was 2. Susan, 30 is incredible. That, you know, everybody that sat here watching would just, you know, was losing their minds at the idea of having 30 people in a closed private Facebook group, joining them every 2 weeks to do some yoga. It's brilliant. And what a way to be in service to your community. What a way to build rapport. It's just fantastic. Barbara wants to know, how many did you have on your first retreat?
Oh, my very first one had 10.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the one with the bad bra. And that was the one where I had a woman, and I had terrible internet problems. I lost my internet connection in the middle of it, and I didn't even know it. I just kept on going. And then it came back. And that's the one where some woman put in the comments, too much talk, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh God. Yeah, that was like
all of that happened on the same one?
All of it in the same one. It was like, oh God.
Oh, I love that you just kept on going. So many people be like, no, that's not for me. I'm never doing that again in my life. I'm going to garrote myself with my bra.
I got it all done in the first one. So it was like, oh, it's got to get better from here, right?
Oh, yeah. So good. Any other resilience, says Barbara, you better believe it. But I mean, and in doing that, like, it makes, you know, it makes you more personable. It makes you a real person. And the people who don't mind are the people who are going to stick with you. And the people who are too much talking, blah, 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 they're the people that you don't want coming back anyway. So
right.
I love it. Yeah. I love it, Susan. Okay. Any other tips or things that you've discovered along the way that you're doing differently now for people who are just starting out?
Wow. Well, I'm doing things, you know, when I first started out, it was about, my retreats were about an hour and 15 minutes. And now they have definitely evolved into 90 minutes, because I feel like I have so much to share and so much that I'm trying to squeeze into this time allotment. But I really feel that the best thing that I can recommend for anybody who wants to do this is take the time to be organized and have your topic prepared, and have your cheat sheets and everything set well in advance, so that maybe the last half hour before you actually do the online retreat, you can be calm, and you can maybe do sage yourself, or do an incense or something, chant a mantra, do something so that you yourself are in the right frame of mind and not stressed out and all flipping out before you have to turn on that button and go live. The most important thing is that you yourself are in the right frame of mind when you do that, because I remember one time I was personally not in the right frame of mind when I turned that camera on, and I turned the button on, and I was like, and it was because the stupid camera just, it didn't want to film like horizontal. It wanted to be vertical, and it just annoyed me. And and that was not what I should have shown, you know, my audience. But I was just like, I really wanted to say, oh, this freaking thing again. But I didn't. I just let out a big sigh and I went like, and then I just moved on, you know. So just chill. Give yourself at least 15 to 20 minutes before you get on the camera and make sure that you're fully prepared. Just be prepared and come from the right place in your heart. That's the most important thing. That's all I can say.
I
You
love
know,
it.
don't come at it like, oh, I got this. Oh, no, you don't got this. You need to be prepared.
And I think, I know for me, when I'm doing things online, it doesn't matter how good the thing is that you're teaching, there will be, you will notice a large number of people will drop off once you go beyond the time you said you were going to. So if
yes.
Do you find that, Susan, that like keeping it to time, because that's the energetic agreement you have with people, even if it's great?
Yeah.
I find people still leave because they've got other things, or they've just got it in their mind that's how long it goes for. So agenda is a great idea.
Sometimes people will sign off, and you know, I'll get after Shavasana and I go back to the, you know, get back close to the camera, to you know, just talk for a minute and give my final blessing or whatever. Yeah, closing. I will see that people have said, gotta go, or, you know, this was great, love you, bye, or whatever. So you definitely need to try to stick as best you can to your time allotment. And if you go over, then you acknowledge the fact that you went over, and you give your gratitude to the people who stayed. And, you know, if you still feel like you have something to say, then you, if you want something that you need to share or announce or something beyond that time, then you would say, you know, feel free to sign off or whatever. But if there's anything, if any of you are able to stay, I just want to share something more with you now, and you know, that sort of thing.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful.
A
couple of questions. Lorraine wants to know, how do you, if someone asks you something while you're teaching, how would you see it if the camera isn't close? But what I've heard you say, Susan, is that you do the interactive part while you're sitting up close to the camera, and then it's less interactive when you move onto your mat.
That's correct. Yeah, when I'm on my mat, I don't see any comments or anything. And when I've finished with Shavasana, then I go back up to where the camera is. And if there's a comment or something that still is appropriate, I will try to respond to it then.
Great. And Kirsty, hey Kirsty, I love that you're here. And which continent are you on, Kirsty? Kirsty wants to know, is the camera horizontal or vertical on your tripod, your iPhone?
Well, now it's vertical, because evidently Facebook doesn't like it to be horizontal.
Yeah,
so
you can do horizontal with your computer, with your MacBook, but not with your phone.
Yeah. And since I use my phone, it's vertical.
Okay, cool. I want to talk a little bit about monetizing these and about business strategy. So I think Rosie and Lorraine asked, how do you make money from this? Importantly, and I'm going to jump in here and talk on Susan's behalf a little, because Susan's been in my Keep Growing Mastermind for a while now, and I know her business back to front. But Susan's business model is different from people who are looking to make money now online instead of teaching in person. So Susan's like she said, the purpose for her in her virtual retreats is to grow her mailing list and grow her community, build rapport with people, to ultimately offer people into larger offerings like coaching or longer actual in-person retreats. So it's a different business model to what a bunch of people might be doing. But there are a number of ways that you can monetize it. One, something, for example, that Susan could do, and this is what I used to do with my virtual retreats. The virtual retreats were free to join, but once someone signed up, then I would send them, then the landing page, once they, you know, the thank you page, yes, you're all signed up, here's the details. It would say, if you would like access to 3 virtual retreats right now at $7, and here's the button. And they would, I don't know, a small number, 5% of people would buy that for $7. And it was just sort of enough to keep buying my Facebook ads, so that the growing of my mailing list was cost neutral, was about how much money I was making. Not a lot, but enough to have my Facebook ads running essentially for free. So that's one way that you can do it. You could also, like Susan's doing it through a Facebook group, you could do it like the Facebook group is a paywall. So same setup. You see the thing on social media. You say, yes, I'm interested. It takes you to the MailChimp, or Susan's using, what CRM do you use?
Flowdesk.
And so they fill out the form, and then they could be redirected to a Moonclerk or a PayPal or a Stripe page to pay a small amount, and then they get the invitation to join the Facebook group. So you could do it like that. Or like I played you at the start, one of the Keep Growing Mastermind grads who's just done her first virtual retreat today and made over £400. You can do it just like you would sell an in-person mini retreat. You make a sales page, there's a buy now button, you advertise it in all the same ways, and people sign up to do it. And I know that another Keep Growing Mastermind person, Sarah Powell, is doing it that way. I mentioned her the other day when saying that she had already sold 7 tickets at £10 per, and I don't know where she's at now, but no doubt more. So that's another way that you can monetize it. So for Lorraine, who asked, why would you post it on YouTube a week later if you're trying to the purpose for Susan is not to make money immediately, it's to build brand awareness and rapport with people. So slightly different business model. But what I wanted to invite her here to speak about is the mechanics of it all, how she brings it all together. You can see her passion for doing it. And the fact that she has 30 people as a minimum show up every 2 weeks just blows my mind. She's obviously very good at it. The monetizing it, there's a whole bunch of other ways that you could do that. Take Susan's model, and then, if you either do it as saver because you just want to connect with your people like this we're doing right now, or there are a bunch of different ways that you can monetize it. I hope that helps. Let's see. Any other questions? Go ahead and type them in. Barbara's got to go and teach. Thank you so much, Susan and Amy. Very inspiring and fun. Legends, both of you. Legends, everybody who's doing this damn thing, Barbara. You're in that camp, girl. Kirsty says, hi, Amy. Thank you. I'm back in Brisbane, finally in my own home space with a spare room for yoga and staying put. Oh my God, Kirsty, I'm chuffed for you. And maybe your spare room gets to look a little bit like your version of Susan's spare room, AKA home yoga studio. Who else has questions? Will you cover how to monetize it, says Maggie. Yes, to the degree that I just did. And also tomorrow, I'm going to be, the session tomorrow is just me and all you. But I'm my own guest. God, recipe for disaster. And we'll be talking about promotions, marketing, and making the cash. So a little bit tomorrow, Maggie, on that. Any other questions for Susan, folks? Or anyone else thinking about doing this and have some more, need some more tips, or anybody already doing this and has some of their own tips to share? Rosie wants to know, how did you decide to do it on Facebook? And I think she asked before, why not sort of Google Hangouts or something, or Zoom? Why Facebook?
Why Facebook? Well, I think because of the demographics that I'm going after. I work predominantly with women from maybe 38 to 60, and that demographic seems to be more on Facebook. Although I have a really good Instagram audience as well. But yeah, I think Facebook seemed right for me. And also I think at that time that I started, I was not as familiar with the Instagram TV option. So it just seemed really natural for me to go to Facebook Live.
I like it. Isabel wants to know if Facebook records automatically. Yes, it does. And then you can download it. Do you want, actually, Susan, could you tell us a little bit about the process from getting your virtual retreats onto YouTube? And what's the name of your YouTube channel so we can go and look?
It's also Susan Prober Yoga. I try to keep everything Susan Prober Yoga straight across the board so that it's not confusing. So what I do is I download the video from Facebook onto my laptop. Although I had a little snafu lately with that, and I've been telling you that.
Yeah.
So anyway, under normal circumstances, yes, I download the Facebook Live video onto my laptop, and then go to my YouTube channel, and then just upload it there. That's all.
Cool.
Very simple. I don't have a lot of subscribers on my YouTube channel, I must admit, but they get looked at, so it's pretty good.
Great. Jody says, do you think cost-wise should be the same or different to in-person? The same. The same. My monthly mini retreats have tea, etc. Okay, so like Susan said earlier, if it has components that aren't there, then you would probably adjust the price accordingly, but don't undervalue it simply because it's virtual, Jody. Carrie says, I'm just listening and learning. First week of no teaching. I am going to need to learn how to do all of this, especially for my current students, and just create community. And I do not need the funds right now. Awesome, Carrie. So you're in the most, you and me both, we're in a blessed place to be able to just help people out. Denise says, I have had to take my YTT training onto Zoom, and I'm finding the breakout rooms feature to be an amazing tool. Nice one, Denise. I might work well with a retreat setting to allow people to partner up and discuss a topic. Oh, fancy. If you're in my Facebook group, Denise, start a thread on that topic, because I'm pretty sure that a bunch of people would like to know more about that. Isabel says, what would be a good fee to charge for a retreat? Well, Isabel, it depends on where you live and what you're doing and what you would charge for an in-person one. Like I said before, I know Sarah in the UK is doing her first one ever and charging £10 a ticket, which is a very doable price for people. So if you're not sure, I know when I was starting out charging for things, it just made me feel more comfortable to charge a little less the first time I ever did anything. So it took the pressure off me if it all went a bit funny. So, but that was just me. So it's got to feel good to you, Isabel. It's got to make sense for you. It's got to be realistic, but don't undervalue what it is that you're doing either. Susan, if you were doing an in-person mini retreat, what would you charge?
Oh, well, I've done several mini retreats that were about 3 or 4 hours long, and those, I can't remember if they were $40 or $50.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So about a half of that. It's about right. Rosie wants to know, how do I stop from being dead, dull, and wooden in front of the camera? Rosie, I'm sure it's not that bad, but Susan, have you got any tips for like being engaging and warm and friendly on camera?
Oh my gosh. Well, before you go on camera,
fix your bra.
You fix your bra, yeah, no. Or think of me in my bra. No, before you go on camera, like put on a disco song or something that makes you just dance.
That's
something that makes you totally boogie, okay? And I don't know if you're too embarrassed to do it in your living room or wherever, but do it somewhere in your house. Put the music up really loud and just move your body and get yourself like pumped. And then get into that room and in front of the camera, and those endorphins will be going and you'll be going and it'll be great.
On that note, anybody have a song suggestion to that would be, I love seeing people's like nerdy song choices. Excellent advice. I sometimes dance before in-person classes too to raise my vibration. There's Karen Buckland. I want to know what songs are on that playlist. Kirsty says, do you have a copy of the client waiver for going online? The answer to that is no, and I'm not going to do that for you folks, not because I don't want to support you wholly and solely, but just because it's out of my area of genius to provide you with legal documents, etc. Any other last chance for questions? Susan, anything else you wanted to share before we finish up?
Well, I think, we're all going through a lot of stress and anxious times right now, and your people need you, and you have this option available now, and my gosh, you got to be there for them. whether it's just a yoga class, whether it's a yoga nidra, whether it's a retreat, be there for them. And remember that when you are in front of that camera, you can have all these tools around you to help you too, to make it simple for yourself so that you don't have to stress out.
Yeah.
And while you're doing it, it helps you too. Because
I totally agree. Yeah.
Because you know you're doing something for others, but also you are hearing your what you're preaching. So it helps you both. It helps everybody. It's just a circle. It's a circle of love and a circle of help. Yeah. That's all I can say.
I agree. I know that chatting with you all every day is definitely helping me feel connected and like we're working on something more important than all of the drama. So yeah. Carrie says, yes, I need my breathing buddies. Jody is a kiss woman. Definitely Prince. Oh my God, I can totally see you down there in Gippsland. Like, that always makes me think of Julia Roberts in a hot tub, but that's because I'm old. Karen Buckland has been known to put on one-person dance parties on Insta stories. You know, that sort of stuff. I really think that more whimsy, more silliness, more play is the best way to combat all of the happening on social media. So I challenge everybody to do a one-person dance party on Insta stories. Tag me. I want to know about that. So follow Susan on Instagram, Susan Proper Yoga. Find her on YouTube. Susan, I don't know if you're still taking complimentary sessions, but if you want to type some information into the chat before I finish up on that front, go ahead, and I'll just do a little bit of concluding stuff. Thanks for being an amazing guest, and again for being so transparent about your process. This is just, not only does it demystify everything for people, but it just reminds us of why it's important, and it makes it feel doable when you're just so honest, and there's so much grace in that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll let you type into the chat if you have anything else to offer to people. Folks, keep your eye on that. Kirsty says, this has been very helpful and inspiring. Thanks, Susan and Amy. Kirsty, your people would just die for this. If you're not doing this already, you need to. And go watch some of Susan's YouTube recordings. Isabel says, you guys are rock stars. Thanks so much. Gigi says, thanks, Susan and Amy. Denise says, so helpful. Thank you for your community support, Amy and Susan. You're all incredibly welcome. I want to just let everybody know about the social media confidence for yoga teachers that's starting at the end of the month. Folks, if you haven't done that training with me yet, I was just thinking about this last night. Like, it blows my mind what an incredible opportunity we all have now to really grow our communities through service while everybody's at home and in need of more yoga. So if you haven't done that training with me yet, get yourself signed up for it. And if you're watching this right now and you have done the social media confidence for yoga teachers training and you would recommend it, could you type into the chat to let other people know that it's worthwhile? Essentially, it's 4 training classes and 4 Q&A calls where I just teach you like actually how to get confident on social media. And I know about 70 people have done it so far and are seeing really good results. So if you haven't signed up yet, I do think it is just a no-brainer time to get some extra training in, and it will give you what you need. If you're hearing Susan talk about how she's got a strong Instagram following and you're thinking, oh God, I need to do that, I'll teach you how to do it. Jody says, it's so worth it. I highly recommend this training. Yes, the social media training, it's a no-brainer. Do it, says, I think Karen. Kirsty says, do it. I loved it. Loved the social media course and learned so much. Yes, great. You got to do it, says Jody. Yes, social media is great, says Dee. Awesome. I'm going to just type into the chat the link to that. And I want to talk about, like, I'm obsessed with getting you all feeling like this can be a really great opportunity to grow your business, not in a way that's exploitative, but a way that's in service, and also in a way that helps keep you grounded and focused. And I think that this program could help with that. So, I just sent it to Kirsty. Sorry, Kirsty, I just bombed you with a private message. Sorry, just type into the, oh, no, I can't. Oh, man, come on now. No, I can't do it. I don't know why it's not letting me do the everyone button. Oh, well, the link is amymcdonald.com.au/social. And what I wanted to say was, if you sign up for it, I want to give you a free coaching session as a bonus, to help like really get this happening and make you feel really across it and skillful in what you're doing. So if you sign up for the program by, what are we like, I don't know, Wednesday night, I want to give you that one-to-one coaching session as well. So that's like, I don't know, it's 45 minutes. 90 minutes with me is normally $500. So do the math. It's a good deal. But I want to extend that to you because really I'm incensed with getting you all using this time in a really supportive way. So if you sign up for that program by Wednesday, you also get that private time with me, which is cool. And if you've already signed up for it, because I know a bunch of you have, I'm going to give that to you anyway because you were like pre-bonus. So you get that as well. Don't worry. You don't have to email me about it. But for anybody else, if you sign up for Social Media Confidence by Wednesday, let me give you some one-to-one time with me as well. Because let's face it, I got time. I ain't going nowhere, literally. So I would love to use that time to support you all a little bit more. amymcdonald.com.au/social. Let me go back down here, and before we stop the recording, I want to make sure, oh my goodness, come on, Zoom. Where is Susan? Can you unmute yourself on your end? Because I've lost you in the, I can't find the slider bar.
Okay.
Because just so for people who are listening to this in the podcast version, what did you type into the chat so people know?
Just about, where is it now? If somebody is interested in a clarity call with me, which is for my coaching services.
Yeah.
It's a long link.
Well, what about if people are interested in that, they can just send you a message on Instagram?
They can just go to my website, or they can, which is susanproberyoga.com.
Or find you on Insta and send you a message.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So if you'd like a coaching or clarity call with Susan, where she spends some time with you talking about what you need and proposing some tools that could support you, hit her up on Insta, Susan Proper Yoga. Someone asked, what's happening tomorrow? What time? Tomorrow, same time tomorrow, 7 a.m. on a Monday for me, where we're going to be talking about marketing, promotions, how do you get people to do these things. I can help you with copywriting, how you talk about things, all of that good stuff. So it's just me, but I'll try and overcompensate for myself. And stay tuned to that page that I'm emailing out that's got the schedule on it. Like I said yesterday, I'm just working out the last minute details with the women at NamaStream so that they can come and talk to us about their platform. And then I suspect we're going to finish up with one final hurrah and Q&A call the day after that, which will be Wednesday. But the details, we're still putting it together, and pretty much you know as soon as I know. Christina says, thank you very much. You're welcome. Robin, Superhero Silver Sneakers, says, that's amazing. You're amazing. You're all amazing. Have a great day, everybody, or a great evening. Stay at home. I was saying before I started the recording, God damn it, stay at home. They're pink now, says Robin. So some fancy footwear. Thanks, Susan. Super, super useful.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody, and I'll see you same time tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.